Hey guys, Alex Skeen here. Just making a quick video for you. I've got a very exciting video this week. We are going to be talking to a lender that is killing it in the industry, and we're going to be talking about how to pick a lender. Know a little bit about this gentleman. He's been in the mortgage business for the last 13 years. The first 8 years of his career, he was a underwriter and then became a underwriter manager. In the last 5 years, he has become a loan officer and is absolutely doing a great job. He's helping a lot of families out. He's been in the top 1% for mortgage loan originators in the country for the past 3 years. So can't wait to meet him. Like I said, I'm about ready to go in on this chilly morning, and we'll see what he has to say. We'll see you in there. Bye. All right, so I'm here with the man, the legend,
You made it.
Monte Brooks.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Can't complain, man. I'm just lovely. Ready to be here with you. Talk about some good stuff in the market and go from there.
Awesome. Well, like I said out in the car, this guy, he's a legend in the industry here. We've been working together, what, about 2 years now?
Yep, a couple of years at this point.
Yeah. You know, in that time, you're telling me you've done, what, 95 million?
Yeah,
sales?
yeah. So the journey has been awesome, and I have it all just to work with great people like yourself, right? So we had a great relationship. We hit it off right when we met each other, and in the last 2 years, it's been an awesome ride for several different reasons. I've been able to help a lot of families over the past 2 years. I've been able, with my team, I've been able to close $95 million in loans, and then also help over 350 families find a new home. So that's awesome. A lot of things and a lot of people in my industry, they can focus on, like when interest rates drops, they can focus on refinances. I'm happy to say that 80% of my business is purchase. So I'm just helping people get into properties. That's what I love doing, is helping people buy homes and getting there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will talk about their sales volume, but to be able to put it into families is amazing.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, we're here to talk about, how to choose a lender. Obviously, you can tell he knows a little bit about it. So, first off, what is a lender and why is it important to get a good one?
It's super important. So a lender is a person that's going to help you find what you need as far as financing, right? I think a lot of things that are out there online or the internet and talking to your friends and family, like, oh, you can just go anywhere and apply for a loan or a mortgage and you're going to be good. That's not true, all right? There are a lot of people, unfortunately, in my business, in the mortgage industry, they just don't know what they're doing, or maybe not a seasoned vet, all right? There are a lot of companies that are awesome at doing advertising, but you're going to get a loan officer that's in a call center that may be their first or second loan. You really want to trust your biggest purchase, but somebody that just doesn't have that experience or know what they're doing. So what a loan officer is, it's a person that should be able to hear your needs and put the perfect financing and fit you with the perfect financing to meet your financial goals. A lot of loan officers can be order takers, and that's not what you need to do in this business. You have to kind of really educate people and lead them down the path. You have to be the professional, not the order taker. I definitely think that is something that differentiates me from the process, because my build up to being a loan officer is a little bit of a different path of being an underwriter and a regional underwriter prior to it being a loan officer. So I really know what to look at in order to structure a loan to make sure it goes as easy as possible for our clients. That's important. So what a lender should be is a person that really helps you create your goals and your path and your plan, not an order taker.
Exactly, it should be somebody that's really on your team and really trying to get you where you want to be. Right?
Absolutely.
For sure. You were talking a little bit about it, but there's different types of lenders out there, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that.
All right, so there are a lot of different types of lenders out there. You have your lenders or your mortgage loan officers that are at the bank, you have credit unions, you have just a mortgage company, and those are the different types of lenders typically. So the difference between those lenders, with the bank and the credit union, typically they are very narrow of what they can do. A lot of times they can be, in this market, they can say, hey, it's going to take us 30 to 45 days to close a loan. And then a lot of the lenders that are working at the banks or credit unions, they're on staff in a sense, and they're salaried loan officers as well.
Yeah.
And so the commitment there, I would say, to go that extra mile can be a little bit different in that instance, because at the end of the day, one way or another, if you buy a property or your loan closes, it doesn't close, they're still going to get paid no matter what. So that investment may not be there. The difference with the banking and credit unions is that typically they're going to work 9 to 5 or 10 to 5, not available after 5 o'clock or on the weekends, and that's super important in this market because a lot of real estate is done after 5 o'clock on the weekends when people are off work. So if you can't get in hold of your mortgage company or lender, you just probably aren't going to find a home. Okay. So the other thing that's out there is just a mortgage company. All right. I just do mortgages all day. That's it. I don't care about auto loans. I don't care about credit cards. I don't care about bank statements. I just focus on mortgages, and that's it. That's the specialty, right? When you find that you can be like a jack of all trades, maybe at a bank or a credit union where they're doing so many different things, you may not have that expertise, and that can be a deficient process where you may not be able to communicate everything that's on the table for clients and what's available to them. So I think being a mortgage banker, which I am, gives you the best of both worlds because I have that flexibility, typically have more options than the bank or credit union because again, they're just kind of very narrow in their scope. You may not have the specialty or focus of what you need, especially in this market.
And people talk about all the online things too. You didn't even touch on that.
Yeah, I didn't. I missed that one. It's like the biggest detriment to the industry right now. So with that being said, with online lenders, that has been a big difference in the market lately. All right, so you have a lot of online lenders that are wonderful at advertising, but they suck at the process. All right, so the most notable one I would say out there is like, hey, get pre-approved in like 7 minutes or less, 30 seconds, right? Stupidest thing you can do in this market, and the reason why is because they're really not doing their due diligence on the process, right? You think about the largest investment that you're probably going to make in your lifetime. You think it's a great idea to get like a quick serve through, like a drive-through, in order to get like a piece of paper. And the reason why they're really doing something called a pre-qualification, not a pre-approval.
Big difference.
Huge difference, right? A pre-qualification is saying, hey, everything you put on your application looks great. Here's your letter, go shop for a property. The problem with that is that if you're not verifying any assets, income information, there could be a gap there. Maybe you mistyped and you overstated your income, right? So what happens in that situation is that when you say you go out, you think you're pre-approved, you're really pre-qualified, and you're looking at homes, you make an offer, your offer's accepted, and then that particular company says, hey, now give me all your documentation. I need your pay stubs and everything now, and then they see you make less money than what you told them up front. Now you're declined. Now we're taking Alex all over the Quad Cities to find a property, and you really weren't able to buy the home. And so that is when you're going to be upset with that lender, your realtor can be upset, and then also the seller's going to be upset because we thought you were fine, but you really weren't. You have to understand that when you're making a large investment like this, it's going to take a little bit of time. You need to provide some information. Getting a quick yes, only to get a slow no later, it's a slow burn, and it just makes everybody upset. So that's why it's super important to provide documentation, go through the consultation process, and a lot of online lenders just don't do that. You have a lot of people that are newer to the business in the call center, just calling and just being an order taker. That's not a specialty. That's not going to do you any favors in this market. You really need to have that trust and that expertise in the process. They just can't do that. They're just trying to get quick stuff out and like throwing a lot of stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And that's not the way to do this, especially in this business.
Especially with this big of an investment.
Absolutely. It's just, you don't want to waste any time or any money. You want to know the facts. Nothing but the facts, right?
Right, so that's awesome that you told us a little bit about the online, but we still use technology even if you're not applying online.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about technology and what factors come into play when you're trying to choose a lender.
Absolutely. That's super important because technology has pushed the mortgage industry way forward, all right?
I mean, with just COVID.
Just COVID. Yeah, just COVID, things changed. A lot of people were working at home. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go into a place to sit down and do it, to fill out an application or do anything like that. So with that piece, technology has really expedited the process. It would take, 10, 15 years ago, it would take 45 to 60 days to close a mortgage. That's because you would physically have to get an application package. And if you've seen an application package or disclosure package for mortgages, it's super thick. It's about 73 pages. You have to sign and date everything by hand. You're going to get a hand cramp. That's not comfortable. And then you have to try to either send that information back with the UPS, FedEx envelope, and then if you miss the signature, it has to be sent back. So it's just a lot of back and forth, a lot of lost time. So now with the technology piece of it, you can sign your application kit via electronic signature. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your computer. It's super convenient. The other thing that pushed forward is that you don't physically have to go to your closing if you don't want to. So you can have an e-close process where you have a chat with an online notary. They go through all your closing documents, you sign everything electronically, and then boom, you close on the property. Now you have to get your keys still from somebody or a property, but that gives that convenience for people where they physically, if they don't, want to go to the closing or if they find it not necessary, then you can do that process. So it really has expedited that process just to push it forward. Again, now it can take 30 days and under to close a mortgage.
So that really does cover technology pretty well. It is a factor, if it is something that you're concerned about.
Absolutely.
But what factor does personality come into play with your lender?
Yeah, I think that's super important. The lending relationship is kind of like dating, right? You're going to know typically within like the first 5 to 10 minutes if it's probably going to be a good fit. Your personalities don't mesh all the time, so you have to know what you expect with the process and what you're looking for, and know yourself. And that will allow you to kind of communicate that as well with the other person. So I think personality is super important. Like for me, myself, I know myself, I am very detailed, and I like to do my due diligence up front, really learn about a person. If that isn't something like, hey, I don't want anybody asking me questions, and it may not be a good fit, right? So you just have to understand what you're looking for in a loan officer, what's going to be a good fit for your personality. But again, you want to look at it like dating. Typically within the first 10 minutes, you're going to know, you're going to have that filling out process, then you go from there, right? But I think it's super important just to understand what your expectations are, right? Know what your expectations are, and then also know what the loan officer expectations are as well. Then it can be a match made in heaven, or it can be something different.
For sure. Like you said, it's kind of like dating, and with a good relationship, lines of communication for it too. It's pretty similar, isn't it, with lending?
Absolutely, right? If you are trying to force somebody maybe to email, and they don't like emailing, or if they just like texting or something, I think asking those questions up front, how do you like to be communicated with? It is a game changer because, again, you just don't want to make sure you're fitting that square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't make sense, right? So lines of communication are important. Like, hey, it's okay for you to call me at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. Like setting those boundaries of knowing what's expected of each person. I think that's super important because no matter what you're doing, if it's in your relationship, if you're buying a house, or if it's at your job, if you don't communicate, it's just not going to go very well. It's just a game changer for it. So I'm sure you've ran into this situation before, come across it, where you have a client that says, hey, I have this awesome lender or online lender, I have my pre-approval already, and then you call them 10 times and they don't return your phone call or answer it.
It's a big
boom, the big red flag right there. It's like lack of communication up front is going to only spell disaster on the back end. And when you're making an investment this large buying a property, the communication lines all have to sync up, because if you're deficient in one area, it's going to impact the other area, and then that can be you losing out on the property or the process being horrible, where you read all the stories online. People are like, oh, don't ever buy a house. It's going to be an awful process. That's because communication or boundaries weren't set up front of what the expectations were, and it can just have a snowball effect for everybody on the back end.
Exactly. And when you're talking to the lenders, ask them, how do you communicate? And does it fit what you're looking for?
Exactly.
It's something you definitely need to know before you really get into the whole process. Because it is such a huge factor when you're actually purchasing.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank you, sitting down, talking, giving some information out. Is there any other final thoughts that you can give the people?
I think we covered a lot of great topics with it. At the end of the day, I think it's super important when you're going through this process, you have a great team, right? You have to have people that work together. And the reason why we do business together is because we know exactly what we expect, we know what the consistency or what you're going to get out of us. When a realtor or a lender, then we make a referral, it's because we trust, and we're not going to refer you to somebody that we know that's going to do a horrible job.
It's going to make your life
exactly. So it'll make our life terrible too. So making sure that you trust the experts in the process. We do this every single day. We do like feedback or having open conversations, but I think it's super important when you're looking for a lender. Know what you need, know what your expectations are, and then also communicate what their expectations are as well, because that will really make or break the process for anyone. So I think that in this market, making sure that you have confidence in who you're going with and knowing what they can do for you, I think that's extremely important. It's a very competitive market right now, you know that, so having everybody buttoned up and on the same page will be the game changer from you getting a house and it being a great process to you never wanting to buy a home again. It's plain and simple.
You heard it from the best. Anyway, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a great talking, and we'll see you around.
See you next time, everybody. Be good.